sister's friend mocked my mental health struggles in her wedding speech, so I left early. Now, my sister is mad, and I'm thinking of cutting ties with her, but she grabbed my neck, and it triggers my PTSD. Hey everyone, my name is Antonio, and I've been through some serious crap recently. I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some advice because I honestly don't know what to do anymore. This story involves my sister Brigit, her wedding, and a friend of hers named Palmer, who, in my opinion, should just go fuck herself. So buckle up, because this is one hell of a ride. It all started a few months ago when my sister Brigit invited me to her wedding. Now, Brigit and I have never had the closest relationship. We've always been more like strangers who share the same last name rather than siblings. There's always been some underlying tension between us, mostly because of our different personalities and how we handle things. But, you know, family is family, and I figured I'd try to make it work for her special day. Brigit sent me this fancy-ass invitation with all the bells and whistles, gold lettering, embossed details, the whole 9 yards. It was pretty clear she was going all out for this wedding. Part of me was actually a little excited, not for the wedding itself, but maybe, just maybe, this could be a chance for us to mend some bridges. Plus, my mom would kill me if I didn't go. I struggle with PTSD due to some shit that happened a few years back. It's not something I talk about much because, honestly, it's hard as hell to open up about. But the gist is I have major issues being around large crowds and dealing with certain triggers. Sometimes even the smallest things can set me off and send me spiraling. But again, this was my sister's big day, and I wanted to be there for her. So, I RSVP'd yes. I was nervous as hell, but determined to make it through the day. I even started seeing my therapist more frequently to prepare myself for the event. I was trying my best to be in a good mental space for Brigit's wedding. The day of the wedding finally arrived. I got all dressed up in my suit, trying to keep the anxiety at bay. The ceremony was held at this beautiful, picturesque venue that looked like it was straight out of a fairy tale. Brigit looked stunning in her dress, and for a moment I thought, maybe today will be okay. I was seated near the back, which was a blessing. It meant I could slip out if things got too overwhelming. The ceremony itself was lovely. Brigit and her now husband exchanged heartfelt vows, and there was this brief moment where I actually felt happy for her. I thought, maybe this is a turning point for us. And I managed to keep my anxiety under control throughout the ceremony. I did all the deep breathing exercises my therapist taught me and tried to focus on the positive. After they said their I do's and the crowd erupted in applause, I even felt a small sense of accomplishment. I had made it through the ceremony without any issues. Then came the reception. This is where shit really hit the fan. I should have known things would go south when I saw Palmer, Brigit's best friend, eyeing me from across the room with that smug look on her face. Palmer and I have never gotten along. She's always had this superior attitude, thinking she's better than everyone else. But I never expected what happened next. The reception was in full swing. People were dancing, eating, and drinking. Then it was time for the speeches. The best man gave a heartfelt speech that had everyone tearing up, and I thought maybe this won't be so bad. Then Palmer got up to give her speech as the maid of honor. At first, it was all fun and games. She told some funny stories about her and Brigit's childhood, some embarrassing moments that made everyone laugh. I was even laughing a bit. But then, out of nowhere, she starts talking about me. At first, it was subtle. She mentioned how Brigit always had to deal with family drama and someone always making a scene. The room got a little quieter, and I felt this pit forming in my stomach. Then, she went all in. She started making jokes about my PTSD, calling me a drama queen, and saying how I always overreact to everything. She said something like, "We all know how Antonio can be, always making a big deal out of nothing. Remember that time at Christmas when he freaked out over a loud noise? Classic Antonio, always the drama queen." The room went dead silent. You could hear a fucking pin drop. I felt every single eye in that room on me, and it felt like the walls were closing in. I was humiliated. My face was burning, my hands were shaking, and I felt like I was going to be sick. Palmer just kept going, oblivious, or maybe just not caring about the damage she was doing. I couldn't believe someone would be so heartless and insensitive, especially at a wedding. I couldn't take it anymore. I got up and left the reception early. I didn't make a scene, just slipped out quietly. I was shaking, my heart was pounding, and I felt like I was going to pass out. I just needed to get the hell out of there. When I got home, I broke down. The whole experience was just too much, and all I could think about was how betrayed I felt by my sister. When I got home, I broke down. The whole experience was too much, and all I could think about was how betrayed I felt by my sister. She just stood there and let her friend rip me apart in front of everyone. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Did she think it was funny? Did she not care? Or was she too wrapped up in her own day to notice how much I was hurting? I spent the rest of the night in a haze. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Palmer's voice echoing in my head, mocking me, making me feel small and worthless. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but all I could do was lie there and let the tears come. The next day, Brigit called me. She was furious that I left early. She didn't understand why I couldn't just take a joke and accused me of trying to ruin her wedding. I tried to explain how hurtful Palmer's speech was, but she just didn't get it. She told me I was being overdramatic and that I needed to lighten up. She said it was just Palmer being Palmer and that I should have expected it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister was defending Palmer's cruel jokes and blaming me for being upset. It felt like a knife to the gut. I told her that if she couldn't understand why I was hurt, then maybe we didn't have much of a relationship to begin with. That's when she got really mad. She started yelling, saying I was selfish and always making everything about me. Things escalated quickly. She showed up at my place later that day, demanding to talk face to face. I didn't want to let her in, but she wouldn't leave. I opened the door and she barged in, still yelling. I tried to stay calm, tried to explain how Palmer's words had triggered my PTSD and how hurtful it was, but Brigit just wouldn't listen. She kept saying I was being a drama queen, just like Palmer had said. I was standing in my living room, trying to keep my cool, but I could feel my anger boiling over. Then, out of nowhere, Brigit grabbed my neck. She didn't choke me or anything, but the sudden contact and the way she grabbed me triggered my PTSD. I completely lost it. I started having a panic attack, and Brigit just stood there, looking shocked and confused. I finally managed to push her away and screamed at her to get out. She left, but not before calling me a few more names and saying she was done with me. I was shaking, my heart racing, and I could barely breathe. The whole thing was a nightmare, and it left me feeling more alone and broken than ever. Now, I'm seriously considering cutting ties with her. I can't deal with this toxicity anymore, but at the same time, she is my sister. I don't know what to do. I've been seeing my therapist more frequently to try and work through all of this, but it's so damn hard. Has anyone else been through something like this? Am I overreacting by thinking of cutting ties with her? Any advice would be appreciated. Thanks for listening.